Hello, beautiful humans, and welcome to another theRIBALD health class. Today, we are going to be talking about a little bit of financial literacy, more so to do with your kids, your teenagers, even yourself. It doesn't really matter. It's just setting kids or youth up for a little more success when it comes to how expensive life is now, which is very much so. And if there isn't that prior knowledge or prior understanding, even talking about budgeting with your kids or your partner, whoever, is important because we need to live and eat and stuff like that. So it's not such a shock, even talking about credit cards, because it's not just free money that has interest on it. And I think they're, again, like anything, the earlier we talk about it or earlier we teach it, the better. So I've seen quite a few people, which I really love. They either give their kids an allowance per week or per month. It doesn't matter, it's whatever is appropriate for your financial situation. It can even be like $5, $5 a month, $2 a week, something like that. But the concept is for them to understand rent, taxes, interest on things. There are many things that you can implement that aren't a large amount. So say you give your kid $5 a month, take $3 for rent, and maybe even take one for taxes, for working taxes, and then put that money into an account for them, because the earlier you do this too, the more you can save for them for later. So put that into an account. You can either put half of it into a savings, half of it into just like a normal checking account. And this way they can build up some credit and they will have that little nest egg when maybe they need a vehicle, or maybe they need new hockey equipment or things like that. And I think this is really helpful for them to understand the concept of money, because my generation and maybe a little older, we didn't really understand, unless you had parents that really talked to you about it, you really understand a lot to do with money or budgeting. I remember in all of the years of me doing math class, there was one class in grade 12 where it was just a budgeting sheet and we barely even looked at it. And, I personally was like, we need to look at this more and we can help people out with it. But do that with your kids, do that with your teenagers, yourself. I like to have a couple savings account that I put money in, even if it's not much. You can transfer $20 a month and just hide it. Like, that money doesn't exist. Just hide it, out of sight, out of mind, and then you have an in case of emergency account, or if you're saving for something specific, then put that out of your mind. And with the kids too, at some point, then they can have access to their account. Give them a check, like a bank card, and only let them have access to the checking account, and maybe put majority of the money into their savings, and then they just have some in their checking account, because if they get stranded or they get in trouble and they need money, or they need something to maybe bus fare home or taxi, whatever they want to use now, then they have access to that, right? And it's much safer than having cash on them, because, cash isn't traceable. And if, they did get into trouble and say somebody stole their debit card, then there would only be a small amount that is in their checking account. But it's just another safety feature too. And like I said before, it helps build up their credit. So when they get older and they want to buy a vehicle, maybe they want to buy an apartment, house, go to school, something, they have that money there. And then they have a concept of what things cost. And I think right now that's especially important, because we've been having a really tough year and many families are really struggling. I know the whole fun aspect of like CERB in Canada anyways, there are many people either didn't fit 100% what the application is, and now CERB is asking for all their money back, and it's chaos. And around the holidays as well, it's a tough concept for a lot of people, because these kids who are really good kids aren't getting as much as these kids over here, but it's only because their parents are spending more money on gifts, or they're just showing off. They have the right to do that, but it's a concept. It's not like, oh, you're a bad kid and that's why you're not getting anything, right? It's just like, this is what we have for money. I would rather you eat through the month than you have these shiny new toys that you're gonna get bored with in like 2 months anyways. So teaching your kids about that, then they can understand maybe why they have a little more empathy to why you're working so much, or why things cost so much, and why they necessarily can't have them, or they have a, maybe not the best stuff. Because they're like, you don't really need the best stuff. You don't need brand name crap. You just need something that's gonna work, right? And even with, say your parents have not the nicest vehicle, they still have a vehicle and they're still taking you around. And I know kids, we don't really have a concept of, again, like the money and why people are maybe driving certain vehicles, or they dress a certain way, or, I went to school with a kid who it was so sad, and I didn't understand it at the time, but he would steal toilet paper from the school because his parents literally couldn't afford toilet paper. And I mean, yeah, COVID, toilet paper, all of that fun stuff, but it's sad, and we don't understand that, right? Or lots of people don't. And I totally applaud the really young kids that are raising money or building things to get money for like shelters, or for kids that need help, or families that need help. I just absolutely love that, because they have a little more of a concept of what things cost, or why people are struggling. And it's not necessarily the parents' fault either. Like sometimes, if they have addiction issues, that's a whole nother issue. But it's not the kid's fault, and it's not necessarily the parents' fault either, or the caregiver's fault that they're in that financial situation. Sometimes shit happens. Life is tough. You can be top of your game and the next month you're not. And it's teaching about saving, teaching about having that nest egg, or the little bit of a safety too, can really get people out of trouble. And then they have more of a concept of what things cost when it comes to credit cards, or line of credits, or any kind of a loan situation. Like, yes, this is money, but you will have to pay interest on it, and you need to pay it on time. And rent, you have to pay on time. You're going to need money for groceries. I'm going to add a link. Obviously, I love my links. I'm going to add a link to a girl, or a lady, I used to actually play soccer with. She's amazing. She's hilarious just in general, but she does really, really well about talking about financial literacy, or making concepts understandable for us today, and not shaming you. Like, I hate those big corporations like, well, maybe you just don't spend so much money on this. Or maybe it's because minimum wage is like the same as it was in like the 1960s. Like, things cost way more now. So I'll add a whole bunch of that. And again, don't go broke over the holidays trying to prove anything to anybody. If all you can afford is groceries this month, that's all that anybody really needs. Your basic needs are met. You're with your family maybe, or you can do Zoom calls with your family. That's enough. That's enough most years, but it's definitely enough this year. So please don't go broke trying to give your kids all these gifts. Yes, as caregivers, you want them to have nice things, but they also need to understand they need to live, right? So yeah, I hope that helps. I mean, more knowledge doesn't necessarily hurt anybody, so why not start early, right? Again, like I said, it can be $5 a month, $2 a month. Just understanding and starting early of money and the things that cost money, which is everything, because life is expensive. But I hope everyone is having a wonderful holiday season. I hope everybody gets to see family or be with family at this point. If not, YouTube is always a great way to take your mind off of it. And I will see you all next week. Have a lovely holiday time.